Hey, y'all. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Welcome to Daily Devotion. Come on in, come on in, come on in, come on in. How are y'all doing on this Tuesday? How y'all doing? How are y'all doing? How y'all doing? Come on in, come on in. Welcome to Daily Devotion. I'm live on TikTok and I'm live on YouTube. I went live on YouTube a different way. So y'all bear with me over here on YouTube. How y'all doing? How was y'all weekend? I know I wasn't live on yesterday. I know y'all probably missed me yesterday. I didn't go live on yesterday. I don't know what was going on with me yesterday. My stomach was bothering me. And then I didn't have my book for me to go live. Um, so I was like, I know they're missing me, but we're gonna go ahead and get started. Today it's a two-part series, and today's daily devotion is called Born to Believe. Born to Believe. And it's coming from Proverbs 22nd chapter 6th verse. Train up a child in a way he should go. Training your child is both challenging and rewarding. By shaping their underlying belief system, you help their developing brain establish permanent neutral pathways that will guide their moral and spiritual growth. Neuroscientists Andrew Newberg and Mark Robert Waldman, authors of Born to Believe, tell us the most crucial years are from age 7 to 10. That's when your child has the greatest propensity to understand the concept of a God they can't see, feel, or hear. What an ideal opportunity. Newberg and Wallman also suggest that our most effective tool for belief building at this stage is storytelling, not preaching or moralizing. Stories that incorporate godly principles, moral behaviors, courage, faith, love, compassion, and forgiveness are welcome. Easily digested in ingredients for building Christian character. Storytelling was how God instructed the Israelites to teach their children his ways and word. Stories of Adam and Eve, Noah, Daniel, Esther, Samson, Ruth, David, and Christ's birth, life, death, and resurrection. Of Jesus walking on the sea, raising the dead, feeding the 5,000, stir the hearts, interest, and imagination of young children, and impart enduring life challenging principles. In fact, studies show that belief systems of adults are powerfully influenced by stories they heard growing up. Implant stories that will become the underpinning of their character and the basis of a lifetime of faith. As a parent, it's your job to encourage and stimulate your developing brain toward their developing brain toward godly beliefs, decisions, and lifestyle. Born to Believe. This is, I mean, this is something new for me, but not new for me. Like I know we talk to our kids about stories. My daughter loved looking at when she goes on YouTube Kids, she loves to look up stories about Jesus. Now I do go back and watch it with her because I want to make sure what they're telling her is the same as what's in the Bible, because we know people can alter certain things to put things in our kids. And if I feel like it's off from what the Bible says, then I will block it on kids YouTube. Um, but I didn't know that they said between the ages of 7 to 10 is the time that we should be talking to our kids about their belief. and spiritual growth. It says those are the most crucial years between the ages of 7 and 10. So our daughter is 7 right now. The baby is 4. Our older kids, we got one graduating this year, and then we had two 20-year-olds. Well, we got one that passed away, and then our oldest daughter is 20. So right now, you should be talking to your kids by telling stories like how God told stories to us. Amen. Yeah, time to pour into them. Yes, Chris. So now, I do have what is it? One of my cousins, she's a minister, and she gave them a bedtime story book that has stories from Genesis to Revelations. I think that's how it goes. And then after each story, it has a little prayer in it to help them maneuver the world based off of the lesson that they learn. And I like that little book. I did stop for a while because they wet up the book and some of the pages of the book is damaged. And I have to see if I can go back through and manipulate the book to get it untorn. But I'm gonna go back to reading that book because my daughter loves to. The 4-year-old, he'll listen. I have switched. I began to switch his prayers because I noticed he has started memorizing the Lord's Prayer, because they say the Lord's Prayer before they go to bed. So my 7-year-old, she's been saying the Lord's Prayer since she was like 5, I think, before she go to bed. And the 4-year-old, when she starts saying her prayer, I started noticing that he knew it too. So I was like, oh, okay, we're not gonna say the little baby prayer no more. You know the Lord's Prayer. So now we got both of them saying the Lord's Prayer before they go to bed. So now I just need to go back. Y'all know, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. When I hear stories about how we should do our children, I know we got older kids, but with the younger ones, I feel like I get a second chance to figure out where did I go wrong. I may not necessarily even did anything wrong, but because we lost a child and we had a child that was in the street, anytime I read a story or read in the Bible about the children, it make me feel like I have a second chance or to correct something that I did wrong with losing our oldest son. Because our oldest son, we are a blended family. Our oldest son was my firstborn. Like, he was my firstborn, but we were a blended family. And that was before we had the youngest one. That was my husband's. That's his bonus son. Blessed are they who see beautiful things, and I see you have a blessed day. Thank you. Please forgive me. So sometimes it made me rethink what I did with our oldest son growing up. Because I kept, he was in church all his life since he was born. He got baptized. He asked to be baptized. He asked to be baptized when he was 5, I think. So he was baptized. He was in the church, because we went to church every Sunday. Even though he was in the street and doing all this stuff in the street, on Sunday, I still made him get up on Sundays and go to church. Even when he snuck out of the house, he was still home on Sunday to go to church on Sundays. When he was younger, he was in the choir, at church, because we had a lot of boys at our church. So they had a little choir. I can't even remember the name of their choir. It was like 4 of them. He was in the choir. He would say, say the speeches and everything. Like, he was active in church. We had him up there for altar call. So when reading things like this, I try to think, where did I go wrong for him to still end up as still to get in the street? Like, what didn't I do? Like, what did I miss for him to still be attracted to the street, for the street to still be able to grab him? I know what he did. I couldn't change him unaliving himself, but I try to figure out, what could I have done wrong. I still can't. The only thing that I can think of because it's been 2 years since he's been gone. The only thing that I can think of is spending more time. Like, hey, Pastor D. Hey, Pastor Reynolds. The only thing that I can think of is to spend more time with him. Thank you for the roses. I appreciate you. Is the spending time, because I know he was in a headspace. It's like he wanted to be under me, and he wanted it because he was my firstborn, and he was the only child for 13 years before we had our daughter. Outside of, my husband had 2 kids when we met, and I had a son. So until me and my husband had our daughter together, my son was the only child for 13 years for me, for his daddy, and for me. He's the only child, right? So the only thing that I could think of is the spending, making sure you spend time, making sure that I spend time with our kids, and making sure that they feel the love. So that's the only thing that I could think of, because he was in a headspace where he wanted to be under me and he wanted me to baby him. And then he was in that stage where he wanted to be a man. I don't know if y'all got teenagers, and y'all teenage sons still have that, where, because he was a mama's boy. So it's like he wanted me to baby him, but but then when I would try to give him what he want, the babying part, like be up under him, jump on him, go in his room, mess with him, spend time with him, then he didn't want to be bothered. So if y'all understand what I'm saying, it's like he was in this space where he didn't know if he wanted to be a baby or whether he wanted to grow up. And we was battling that from the age of 16 until he unalived himself at 18. And we did get him a therapist at 17. So he was seeing a therapist for a whole year before he unalived himself. But I really do feel like when I read lessons like this right here on how we should do our children, I do take it in consideration, and I implement it into what I'm already doing with the younger kids. Because I don't want to lose another child to the street, you know? And then for the longest time, I was trying to understand. I was like, when we had our last son, he was not playing. We got pregnant with him during the pandemic. Like, soon as the pandemic started, like in March, it's like I found out I was pregnant. And then the next day, I think I found out I was pregnant like March 18th, March 19th, or something like that. And they shut the world down March 19th, March 20th, or something. Like the very next day that I found out I was pregnant, they shut the world down. And I was trying to figure out how old was I at the time? I'm 41 now. I was 37, I think. Almost 30, almost 37. I was 36 on my birthday in October. And I was like, Lord, why you wait? Because our daughter was 3 at the time. I'm like, why did you want me to have another child? Like at 37, because I had my oldest son at 21. So I was like, why did you feel the need for me to have a child? Like, I was trying to, for the longest time, understand why God wanted me to have this last. And then he was a boy child. So I was like, why do you want me to have another child? And then when we lost our son, at the time the baby was 2. He was 2 years old, and now he's 4. And then I was like, oh, okay. for me anyway, I feel like God had us. I'm like, God knew I needed our last son. With losing a son, God knew I needed our last son. Do y'all get what I'm saying? Because y'all quiet over here on TikTok. Y'all quiet. Y'all quiet over here on YouTube too. Like, I feel like God had it where my youngest son helped me through my grief process. Because even though I lost a son, I still had a son to take care of and kind of get right. You get me? Like the get right, the get it right, and for him not to fall into the streets like my oldest son did. Thank you for the follow. I will follow you back, Alicia, when I get off of my live. Y'all, let's get these likes up over here on TikTok. Thank you for liking my live. Pamela, I appreciate you. But I feel like my youngest son, God knew I needed my youngest son. So when I lost my oldest son, my youngest son would help me through the grief process, if that makes sense to y'all. That's just my logic. The Lord never really said why, but that's just me thinking that's why we end up having another child that we didn't plan. He came out of the blue, and because we had literally just got married. We had got married September 2019, and we got pregnant with him. I think I got pregnant in February 2020, but we didn't find out until March of 2020 that we were pregnant. But reading stories like this, it's called Born to Believe, and it says that the two neuroscientists, they believe that the most crucial years is between the ages of 7 and 10, where we should use storytelling when it comes to teaching our kids about belief and religion, whatever religion you're in. I'm Christian. I'm a blood-bought believer. And so reading stories like this and how we should treat our children and how we should teach our children, that just makes me think that I'm blessed that I get another opportunity to instill what the Lord has done for me and who the Lord is into the younger kids that we have that are 7 and 4. Yeah. I didn't even think I was, y'all, I don't be trying to talk about grief every time I come on here. I don't try to, tell my story when I come on here, but it just like sometimes the topic, it just takes it there. If that's the way the Lord want me to go, y'all know that's the way I'm going to go. I always pray before I get on here with y'all, and I tell the Lord to have his way, whatever it is that he need me to give to the people, whatever it is. If I have to tell my testimony to reach someone, then I will. But anytime, it just, with losing a child is a different kind of hurt, and it's only been 2 years. This year coming up, December will make 3 years that he's been gone. And he was a senior in high school. He was 18 at the time. But it says, as a parent, it's your job to encourage and stimulate the developing brain towards godly beliefs, decisions, and lifestyle. So I'm going to take that into what we're already doing with our little ones. And also continue to pray over them too, because the world we live in is ever changing, and It's a lot going out on here. Okay, it's a lot going on. I don't know if y'all city like my city, but what they call kids now, they call these kids YN. Like I had no idea what they was talking about when they was calling these kids Y. I'm like, what is a YN? And why? I'm like, why these? I thought y'all. I didn't even want to say what I thought it was. I don't want to say what I thought it was. But when I found out there was the YN was called the young N word, I was like, isn't that playing into what the devil wants by calling our young men YN? Isn't that what they're doing? Shouldn't we be speaking the opposite? So they won't, the odds already against them when they're born. And then we as a people going to label them as YNs. How can we expect change from our young men if we're calling them YNs? That don't even make sense. I'm thinking about my city, y'all, because that's what I saw. I saw somebody on a live the other day, and it was some young man in the restaurant they was in, and he was like, "Oh, y'all, it's some YNs in here." And then it's like he was like, "All right, y'all, ain't no problems. All right, y'all." And I was like, them they was minding their business. They wasn't paying him any attention at all. But we have a lot of crime in our city dealing with young men. So I'm like, how can my city expect change if instead of speaking positive about our young men, you want to call them YNs? That don't make no sense at all. Like absolutely no sense to me. No sense. Do y'all agree with me over here on TikTok and YouTube? Because I choose to speak the opposite of what the devil say. Okay? I choose to speak the opposite. I choose to speak positive. Anybody that knows me knows that if somebody come at me with something negative, I'm going to flip it. And I'm going to find the light at the end of the tunnel. And then instead of calling these young men, because that's what they are, and not young inward, as they do, I choose to call them young men. Because I want them to grow up. I don't want them to end up like my child. I don't even know these kids, but I just know that I don't want them to live the life that my child lived. I don't want the street to consume them like my child got consumed by the street. I will prefer to speak positive into them so that they can give out positive back. Because if you speak negative, you're gonna get negative back. You calling them a YN, then they're gonna start acting like YNs. They're gonna start acting like a young ninja. Because that's what you're calling them. Today's topic was called Born to Believe, and this is part 1. Part 2 is tomorrow. Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way he should go. It says that the most crucial years for teaching a child about morals and spiritual growth is the ages of 7 to 10. And it says we should do storytelling like Jesus did, like Jesus told the Israelites to teach their children about his ways and about his words. telling the story of Adam and Eve, Noah, Daniel, Esther, Samson, Ruth, and David, of Christ's birth, life, death, and resurrection, of Jesus walking on the sea, raising the dead, and feeding the 5,000. Stir the hearts, interest, and imagination of young children and impart endearing, life changing principles. It says, as a parent, it's your job to encourage and stimulate their developing brain toward godly beliefs and decisions and lifestyle. I pray that you all were blessed by today's daily devotion, Born to Believe. Tomorrow is Born to Believe Part 2, and it's coming from Ephesians 6:4. Bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. Y'all know I go live Monday through Friday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I go live on TikTok and I go live on YouTube. I pray you all join me tomorrow. I pray you all have an amazing night on purpose. See y'all later. Bye-bye.